Susan McLean, you are our guest today. Very excited to have you in. You're a cyber safety expert. You're in the police force for 27 years. You know your shit when it comes to basically keeping our kids safe from predators online.
I've been doing it for a long time, and it's something that I'm very passionate about.
Okay, so Mel, you would maybe describe yourself as a bit of an anxious mum.
Yeah, a bit. Code for a lot.
Yeah, and online is one of those things because it's relatively a new area that we are all freaking out in, because it does. I reckon our generation now of our kids are the first ones really to grow up all online, not knowing anything without being online.
I think about my children. My youngest is turning 27 this year. He was born into a household with a computer. So it's more the social media aspect, I think, that's changed a little bit. And I think there is more widespread use of technology than perhaps there was when you were growing up. But it's certainly been around for over 20 years.
Oh, is it? So it would, well, I guess I'm 38 now because I remember having to walk to my best friend's house to use email. Like email was just not everyone had the internet or anything.
No, well, when my daughter Sarah went to England on exchange, she was 15, our mobile phones didn't work overseas. And so we set her up on MSN so we could communicate with her easily and cheaply. And
remember how expensive it was to call overseas.
Yeah. So she ended up on a farm in Tadcaster with no internet. So we were back to the expensive $40 phone calls.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember because my best mate Stace, who we were on show and tell, we'd lived in America for a long time. And so I had a plan with Dodo that on the landline I'd have to write 00111. There was like 64 numbers I'd have to put in.
Yeah, you had to put in to get the cheaper rate. I've done those cards.
Okay, so what we really want to chat to you about today is I want to hear some of your stories, but also want some tips on basically keeping our kids safe when it comes to being online. Right. Let's go back, though, into your experience. You were known as the cyber cop, 27 years in the police force. Can we deep dive into some of the grimmer side of some of the grim stories that stand out to you?
Oh my God, my anxiety level's going up.
No. So, the thing is, knowledge is power.
Of course.
And if you don't know, you don't know. So you don't know what you don't know. So if you're trying to protect your children from anything, you've got to know what you're trying to protect them from.
Yeah.
So that's where getting empowered and educated is really, really important.
Yeah.
But I took my first report of cyberbullying in 1994 and I had a year 8 coordinator at a local school ring me up and asked me to come into the school because he had some girls there that were up to no good, and he said, they need a police chat. But I didn't know what they'd done. And when I got to the school, he started to talk to me about the internet, and I said, I don't do the internet. 1994, I didn't own a mobile phone and I wasn't odd. Didn't have the internet at work. Victoria Police still thought electric typewriters were fabulous. And I rarely used it at home. I had it, but I didn't really use it. And he said, no, we have to talk about the internet. These girls have been mean online. I said, really? Can you do that? That's not nice. I couldn't think of anything else to say. I was like, oh, wow. Like, I was struggling to use technology, let alone work out that I could misuse it.
Right.
So what the girls had done is they'd had a falling out. And to get back at the girl they didn't like anymore, they went online, visited an adult sex chat room and posted an ad. If you want free sex, please contact this girl at this address on this phone number. So we had to move the family into a motel and then a rental property.
Why?
Because we couldn't stop the stream of men knocking on the door looking for their 13-year-old
so they gave
daughter.
the address, not just the phone number.
The name, the phone number and the address.
No.
So, it's a little bit different today in that if that happened, it's still terrible, but police now have relationships with social media companies and Google, and that sort of stuff can be relatively quickly removed.
Right.
But in those days, there was no hope. We couldn't do anything about it other than react to it. And that made me think that, oh my goodness, I was struggling with technology full stop, let alone from a policing point of view. I was a parent. My youngest at that point was 4.5, 5. And I thought, wow, I really need to upskill myself about this.
Yeah.
And it sort of just snowballed from there.
Wow. So that's online bullying. Now, can you give us an example of online predators?
And the predators. What we've seen, what I've seen particularly over the past 26 years that I've been really working in cyberspace, is that never before have so many pedophiles had instant access to so many children. So even if you go back to when I started, I wasn't really online. My kids weren't online. It wasn't a thing. There was email, and that was a business communication really. There was some instant messaging, but that was it. So the risk to children wasn't as great because they weren't there to become a victim. But as time's progressed, And pedophiles, as disgusting as they are not dumb. They know how to ply their trade.
Yeah.
So they know that if there's an app or a platform that's really popular with kids, all they need to do is go there and they will find a victim. And I know when I did the chat with you and Beck, the first thing I said to you is, your children will be contacted by a pedophile online. And you both fell off your chairs.
So
because I was quite
you're
blunt.
a fact saying that if your kid has a phone, is on any form of...
They will be. Absolutely. There's no shadow of a doubt that a creepy person will find them. Now, the finding them isn't the problem, right? They might get a message, I saw your pic, you're cute, or something like that. Creepy, but there's no harm at that point, essentially. The harm is if your child then engages with that person. And that's when you can start the grooming process. So kids are trusting. They want to have friends. Someone's nice to them, so they're nice back. Oh, hi, who is this? Oh, I'm Tom's friend. Every kid on the planet will know a Tom. Oh, or you must be okay then. Or, the friend of the friend of the friend of the friend. But that's the reality. So you've got to educate early. So the earlier you start to talk about the good stuff and the bad stuff, the safer your children will be. Because children that have had no dialogue about the negatives are not going to be able to sort of spot it. Now, that's not to say that all kids spot a pedophile and tell mum and dad, because they don't. But at least they've had in the back of their mind, there's, well, I don't talk to people I don't know out on the street. I shouldn't be talking to people I don't know online. There are people out on the street that might want to harm me. There are people online that might want to harm me. So it's the same conversation. You don't have a specific cyber safety talk, if you like, with your children. You incorporate it into everything you're doing.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's interesting that you say that about your kid probably wouldn't tell you, because I think of my kids. They don't have any social media or anything yet, but I feel like in their minds, if they came to me and said, "Oh, Mum, someone contacted me," their fear would be, I'd say, "That's it.
Yeah.
No more.
Yes.
It's over.
Yeah.
You're not having it anymore."
Never, ever threaten to block, ban and take away.
Okay.
Now, because if your children know or believe that that's going to be the response,
Yeah.
why would they tell you?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, that's
They're not
right.
going to. So we know that young people would much rather put up with the bad to keep the good. Right. So you can take the device away because the homework wasn't done, or there was some. You can use it as a disciplinary tool, but it needs to be related to something. It needs to be defined.
Yeah.
You are not going on social media for this week because, the teacher at school rang me and said you were fiddling on Snapchat in class. So, there can be that.
Yeah.
But you are never, ever going online again. That's not going to cut it. But one of the things, and I got this email from my mum, and she won't mind me sharing it because she wrote this so that I could share in my presentations, about the fact that her 13-year-old son was groomed on Discord, which is an app, a chat app that lots of young people use.
Fuck, I don't even know what it is.
I've never heard of that.
Look, so Discord essentially was for gamers. So, we're all playing games in our house.
Yep.
We'd have Discord accounts. We could chat about the game. So concept fine. But then, of course, predators realise little kids, and, of course, they follow. And there's limited security. But this mum said that, she talks about this with her children. It's always part of the conversation. She regularly checks her children's phones. Like, she's got it all sorted. And she said on a regular check of her 13-year-old son's phone, she found that he'd been communicating with a pedophile. And she said, not only was I distressed about what the pedophile had shared with my son and what my son had agreed to send back, she said the thing that distressed me was he didn't tell. And she said, I've done everything in my power to make the conversation flow, yet my son still wouldn't tell. And this is what parents have to realise, that even with the best relationships in the world, sometimes kids don't tell. They don't see the issue. They're getting blackmailed. Like, if you tell mum and dad, I'll show them the photos. They're embarrassed about what they've done. They know they've made a poor choice. So you've just got to be continually talking and, really checking their phones, checking their contact list. It's not invading their privacy. It's actually parenting in the digital space.
What scares me is, like, my children are 5 and 8, and they have phone time on the weekend to play their games and stuff, I can already see how addicted that they are just with that. Like everything revolves around their phone time on the weekend. But by the time they have their own phones, and I'm going to try and hold out until they're in
High school?
in year
Absolutely.
7.
Never before.
Okay, so that's kind of, you think when you go to high school, and obviously with guidelines around
Oh,
it.
still with guidelines, but there is no child in primary school that needs a phone.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Absolutely not. And parents, but it will keep my kid safe, or I will know where my child is. I'm sorry, if you don't know where your 8-year-old is, you've got a problem. Like, you shouldn't be relying on a phone.
Yeah. What are the guidelines that you suggest are appropriate for when kids, most of them I think are getting them around year 7. What are your guidelines for parents who are in this territory now?
So I always say never before high school, and then you've got to look at, does your child need a phone versus want a phone?
Yeah.
They're two different things. Understand that when you give a child a phone, you're giving the world to your child and your child to the world.
Yeah.
Right? It's this big scary place, and does your child have the maturity to understand that? As a parent, you need to be controlling that phone. You need to know how it works. You need to know the PIN codes, the passcodes. You need to be in control of the apps that are being downloaded, and you need to have rules about its use. And, written rules are really good because they're very clear, and the child signs them and you sign them, so it's clear expectations about phone use. Remembering that you can still buy what I call a dumb phone that makes and receives phone calls.
Yeah.
So
not a smartphone.
Not a smartphone. So no internet and no camera,
Yeah.
which tends to be the problematic part
Yeah.
of these devices. But even if you're going to hand your old smartphone down, or you're buying a new smartphone, every device comes with parental controls. You've just got to turn them on and use them. So you
where
can
are
limit them.
they on a
So they're
smartphone?
under settings. So if you go into settings, like if you look at an iPhone, so you go into settings, and then you find a thing called
I'm gonna look at it now.
so it used to be called restrictions passcode. It's got a different name now. It's called something like screen time passcode. And then you enter a code into that, and that means that you then control what else the phone does. So you can basically set limits for Instagram, for example. So you might set 5 minutes a day.
Yeah.
Or
I've got that. I
36
override it
seconds,
every
if
2
you're being
seconds.
really mean. So there's things to do. And then if that level of control's not working and you've got a child that simply isn't getting it, well, then there are third-party products that you can use that can help you do that. If you're using Google devices, Android devices, it's the Google Family Link app that you download, and it gives you the same level of control as what is inbuilt into the iPhone.
Okay.
So there's always something you can do. Smart TVs have controls, gaming consoles, tablets, and phones.
So that's the first step, is to switch all those on.
Yeah, see, interestingly, in the UK, if you buy a phone and the user is under 18, it all has to be on. So the default is on.
Right.
And then the parent has to disengage it if they don't want it on.
Right.
Whereas here, it's up to the parent.
I wonder why.
Yeah, I don't know.
haven't done
The
that here.
UK is quite progressive in a lot of its cyber safety laws. It's mandatory in the curriculum. So all primary schools must teach cyber safety. When the Ofsted examiners come around to, rank the school and assess the school, they're rated on how well they do it.
Right.
So they tend to be very vocal in this space. They're looking at age verification to stop kids stumbling across pornography. They're doing a lot of really good stuff. But know the device. Don't just hand it over and control it, right? Because your child's got to show you that they're responsible with its use.
A friend of mine's child's just gone into year 7, and they wrote up a phone contract with him.
There's
and
a
I
phone
thought that was
contract in my
really
book, a copy of a contract in my book that parents can use.
Which that book is Sex, Text and Selfies by Susan McLean. So you can grab that. It is it's a Bible for parents who have got kids that are...
Yeah, you can pick it up in all good bookstores, or on my website. You can PayPal it and I'll mail it out to you. But
great.
there is an example contract in that. And again, it's not being scared of technology, because if your kids think you're scared or you don't like it, they're not going to come to you. So what I always say to parents, your children's technical skill is going to be better than you.
Yeah,
like
it is.
You're not going to beat your kid.
My kids already are.
Unless you're sort of, perhaps Bill Gates or something like that. But, random people, their kids are going to be better. But then children don't have cognitive development. So you've got the cognitive development and maturity. The child's got the skill. Marry them up and work together, and never let your child set up the device. If you don't have the capacity to set it up and you're going to ask your child to do it, you have to be there with them. But, the beautiful thing about, Apple devices is the Apple Store, and you can go in and you can get those little Energizer Bunny people that stand around at the front door and say, hey, can you help me? I don't know how to turn it on. Or, they do. I was in there recently at Doncaster, and they were doing, I call the session iPad for the Older Australian. And, there was a table like this, and it was full of people that were, I know they were probably, 70 and 80, but they were embracing technology and learning how to use it and get the best out of it. So ask for help. YouTube, there's a lot of rubbish on YouTube, but there's some really good information and tutorials about how to manage the digital space.
This is like on topic but off a little bit. What are the main characteristics of a pedophile? Like, you've worked obviously in this industry for so long, and I just find it intriguing, because is it something you were born with? Are you born like that?
Yeah,
like,
I'd say you'd have to be born with it, like a sexual interest in children. I don't know that it's something that develops.
Yeah.
But the problem is there's no stereotypical pedophile. So there's a lot of misconceptions, and I'll often ask children to tell me what a pedophile is to get their understanding. And my favourite responses from primary school children are, it's an old man in a white van with a lollipop and a puppy dog. And I've asked about an online pedophile, so they still don't quite understand the difference. Or this little girl said, it's a really, 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 really old man. I said, how old would that be? And she goes, 22.
Yeah.
But interestingly, average age of online sex offenders worldwide is under 30.
Really?
Yep. So they're not all old. So, kids know when mum and dad text them because there's spell check, the words are spelled correctly, there's grammar, there's punctuation. But kids don't text like that. So I would know this is an old person talking to me isn't relevant, because they can often be quite young. And if you look historically at probably, I reckon, about the last 10 child sex offender cases I've been following in the media, none of them have been over 40. They've all been quite young.
It's almost like a craft, isn't it?
It is a craft.
They know exactly.
They talk to each other. They trade tips.
Really?
They know, there's an underground network of creepy people out there. The things they have in common, obviously the sexual interest in the child, they're charismatic often. Certainly they might be a bit creepy if you met them, but online they're very good at the grooming process, and they have access to children. So that's where we get, the teacher, the sport coach, the scout or guide leader, or just a random person online that can access children through technology. So
that's where they place themselves too, isn't it? They place themselves in positions where they're surrounded by kids. Or
you look at the guy from the reporter from the Current Affair. He was in the surf club, and he got caught because he was engaging with other men online and discussing what they'd like to do. And it's really difficult to talk about this. And a lot of parents will say to me, I don't want to talk about it, or I can't talk to my kids about this, it's too scary. But the alternative is worse. Yeah. Right? And there is always a way to have a conversation with children, right from, 4 or 5, about this. Now, you're not going to launch into, I need to talk to you about pedophiles that might want to, whatever with you. Like, you're not going to say that to a 4-year-old, but you are going to talk about if someone made you scared or worried or upset, or someone you didn't know approached you or sent you a rude photo or asked for a rude photo back. The term rude photo is great for little kids because they understand what it means.
Totally, yeah.
And you talk about without clothes on, and, when is it okay to be without your clothes on? In the bath, the shower, getting dressed. Do we go to the shops naked? No. If someone asks you for a rude photo, you must tell mummy and daddy. So you can really gently talk about it, but ignoring it doesn't help. Right? Doesn't fix it, doesn't make it go away.
And so from as young as 4 or 5, you're suggesting?
As the minute they have access to technology.
Right.
And it was interesting. There was a thing in the paper recently about the Office of the E-Safety Commissioner were doing some episodes of Play School, and they were using the Play School characters to discuss cyber safety. And I had quite a heated debate with a fill-in radio presenter who basically said, it's rubbish that little kids need cyber safety lessons, and let them be kids longer. Well, if you want your child to be a kid longer, then you basically ban technology. Because you can't. You've got to embrace it and manage it. Then I had another mum said, my kid doesn't use the internet. She just plays ABC for kids on my phone.
Yeah.
What is that if that's not the internet? So I think sometimes an adult's perception of the internet is a website versus internet connectivity on an app. I think that some of them are a little bit confused about what they're actually doing.
Yeah. There are not all games, say for example, TikTok is a huge one. Is this a massive problem?
It's a massive problem, and it's really something that parents should be aware of and shouldn't be allowing their children on. I am not going to back away from talking about how dangerous TikTok is. It is 13 plus, point number one. So
Right.
if your child, and I am big on this, if your child is not 13, they should not have any form of social media. I do not care, because what you have done is you have allowed your child to lie about their age to get something they're not allowed to have. So how can you say to your child, be an honest person, don't lie to mummy or daddy, but I'm happy to help you lie online because it's different. It's not different, it's wrong, and it's bad parenting. Then you look at TikTok. Worldwide, the consensus is 16 plus, that it is absolutely, because of the sexual nature of the content, under 16 really shouldn't be there. Then we look at the facts about TikTok. Received the biggest fine in US history for knowingly gathering data on children and selling it. If you Google TikTok predator problems, there are over 900,000 articles on the internet. If you are a member of the US military or the Australian military, you cannot have TikTok because of security reasons. There are links to the Chinese Communist Party. The data is held in China and no one knows what's happening to it. You want that for your child? Like, I don't get how people don't inform themselves. It's not hard. I've got kids in grade 2 going, oh, mummy makes TikTok videos with me. It's so cute. No, it's not cute. It's not cute. And what is cute to you is very attractive to a pedophile. And I had that argument this week with all the back to school photos and the fact that parents were posting photos of children in uniforms that were identifiable and going, hey, look at my cute kid. And I know where those photos are. They are on a pedophile's catalogue. They collect them, they collate them, they share them. They discuss with other pedophiles what they would like to do with these children.
Oh, my God.
You don't want to go there.
I would have thought that being a pedophile, you would have so much shame. I'm surprised that they kind of
they
form
are
a community.
proud. Oh, my goodness. No. And a lot of them don't even acknowledge the harm. Like when they've been caught and go to court, there's not even remorse for what they've done.
I remember seeing, and it could have potentially been an Oprah episode, and she was talking with these pedophiles. What they see, what they do, is giving pleasure to the child. They don't see what they're doing as wrong.
No,
they're
it's
like,
love.
well, if I touch them there, it makes them feel good. In their minds, that's what they're thinking. So they don't really think they're doing anything wrong. And when you were talking about like no child before high school should have access to a phone or anything like that, my daughter's in grade 6. I would say she's probably one of the only ones
she would be.
that doesn't have one. And she recently had a birthday party and all the girls had their phones and they were all doing TikTok. And she said to me, I know they're all going to be doing TikTok. Can I join in? And I said to her, I'm sorry. But I said, first, the thing I'm saying now is it's illegal because she's only 11. I'm like, it's illegal to do it before 13. But I won't allow it. But there's that other side of me that remembers what it was like. I had quite strict parents myself.
Missing out.
When you're not allowed to. And then me thinking of her sitting there and all the girls are doing it and she's sort of, and for now she listens to me. So she's not embarrassed to say my mum said I'm not allowed to.
Yeah.
I
think
will get
it's
a point
really
where
sad.
they go behind our backs when we say no. Though.
Yeah.
But the problem is, I feel sad for all those kids. And what planet are those parents on? And something that I'm working on at the moment is trying to get, schools and year levels in primary schools particular to come together with a set of expectations about technology use. So that when you host a party and your rules are very basic, no, because none of them are 13, then when the next party comes, it's the same rules. So that everyone in the class or the year level is singing to the same tune.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't have good parents pitted against parents that don't care and don't know.
I
ever.
don't agree that they're bad parents though, or they don't care. I think it is a lack of understanding.
But if you cared, you'd educate yourself.
Yeah, but I think you could say that in a lot of different areas.
Oh yeah, it's
as
not
well,
just the online world, but it's such a dangerous place, and I think that a lot
I
of
think we
parents
probably don't
get it.
and I think I'm one of them where when I see the passion with you and how kind of black and white you are with things because you have seen
the other side of it.
The other side of it, and that's obviously why you are so no, this is how you do it and this is how not. I don't think we live in the world that you see, or we don't. So I think that, it kind of needs to be drilled into us that you just this is one area we cannot afford to not be educated in.
The internet is not a child's playground. That's what first and foremost. It's an adult world that we've put children into. Internet Watch Foundation, which is a group in the UK that work in the child exploitation space, do a lot of really good research about, the lay of the land and what's happening. And they released some studies recently about the live streaming abuse. So this is where a pedophile would watch on a webcam rather than actually sexually assault the child themselves. And 95% of those victims were under 13. Shouldn't have been there in the first place. So if we can just get...
Is that with games like Fortnite?
So it's any sort of live cam web streaming. Yeah. So if we can just get those kids off those platforms... we can reduce offending. Yes, arresting the bad guy's great. But for me, I want to educate to prevent, because if the child doesn't become the victim, the crime doesn't happen, the child isn't harmed, and the pedophile's not going to get arrested, don't care about him. But we're keeping children safe for longer, because if you talk to any parent whose child has been groomed online, it is soul destroying, as you could both very well imagine. Yeah. And the parents beat themselves up and blame themselves and all of that. And it's not about a blame game, but we've had the internet long enough. It's not moral panic, it's reality. The other thing too is when police arrest these people and go through their devices, over 2/3 of the content is self-generated. So that means the sexy snap that someone's taken and shared, that's been on-shared, and it ends up with the pedophile. So again, we've got to look at how young people are using technology. So once we've got the restrictions set and we've got that contract signed, that contract is going to have rules in it about where devices can be.
Yep.
And devices with cameras that connect to the internet must never be in a bedroom or a bathroom, ever. Mm-hmm. Because what that means is there's opportunity for the crime to happen. So the child is not going to be groomed and stripped naked in the lounge room in front of mum and dad. Not going to happen. Yeah. The grooming might take place, like they might be tapping away, but the naked photos are not going to be shared in a public area of the house. The hormonal teenager that wants to send the sexy snap to a boyfriend and girlfriend, not going to happen in the kitchen. So if we can get devices out of bedrooms and bathrooms, we're going to limit as well. And parents say, oh, my child likes to listen to music in the shower. Fabulous, go and buy a Bluetooth speaker. Yeah. Speaker in the shower, phone on the kitchen bench.
Yeah. I think it's, you as a parent, sometimes you go, okay, well, I'm just going to pick my battles, and I can't be bothered with bloody Greg flipping out at me that I won't let him listen to music in the bathroom. But essentially you're saying these are the battles you do have to pick.
It is one, like, I'm not fussed. I mean, I hate messy bedrooms, but, that was a battle I didn't fuss about. Shut the door. If you want to live in a pigsty, go for your life. Not a battle worth fighting. But this is, safe partying, safe sex. I mean, all those things are not so much battles, but they're things that you want to be on top of. But I don't think the majority of parents actually understand the reality of the risk. And they have no reason to understand the reality because they've never been exposed to it. Their exposure might be a headline in the paper. Yeah. Is it a real headline? Is it one of those, over-the-top silly one? So it's hard. I get that it's hard. But we've had the internet for over 20 years. Yeah. We have to understand that it's a problem, a potential problem. But in 99% of the cases, it's manageable. Mm-hmm. So it's identify the problem and the risk, minimise and manage.
Yeah.
It's all it is. But you can't, do not ever give in because you will never forgive yourself if you've said yes to something you knew was wrong.
Yes.
And then it goes even more pear-shaped.
Shit. Because I'm thinking now, like sometimes, like on the weekends when the kids have phone time, I'll be like, Bex, just go and hop in my bed so Arlo won't see.
Yeah.
And stuff like that we just can't do.
Well, do you know what I do? Well, I regularly do this. I don't let my kids have their iPads during the week, but on the weekend they can. And my son watches these very annoying videos, right? And I said, put your headphones on. And I read somewhere, don't ever let your kids have their headphones on. You need to hear what they're watching. Yeah. I thought, oh, God, now I'm going to have to listen to Stampy Cat or whoever that annoying guy is talking about Minecraft.
Yeah, and the thing with the headphones is, you want to hear and you want to hear if there's foul language or inappropriate content.
Yeah.
But also you want to hear the voices because when you say to your son or daughter, who are you talking to, darling? Oh, I'm talking to Tom. He's a friend of Sally's. He's 17, and you're listening, you're going, that positively sounds 65 to me.
Yeah.
You know, you will pick up on that, but your kids won't because they don't want to pick up on it.
Yeah.
They've been told Tom's 17, so
Tom's 17.
Tom's 17.
Yeah.
And he'll have a photo off the internet of a 17-year-old. You know, it's not hard to fake identity online at all. There's even apps that you can use that will change your voice and you know, regress it. There's photo apps where, you know, when I was doing undercover stuff in the police force, I would use a photo of me and then regress the age so it was me but computer generated looking, you know, 14 rather than getting one of me at 14, which probably would have looked a bit dorky because fashions were different and things like that. So, you know, there's all these programs. So, you know, the bad guys get access to them as well. It's not just police using
What is
them.
the percentage of pedophiles that are female?
Yeah, I often get asked this, and it's really hard because I don't know that there's any defined numbers.
Right.
Certainly there are female pedophiles out there. They are not in the numbers of males.
Isn't that interesting? Well,
Yeah.
I wonder why. Is that just because, on generally speaking, men are more sexual beings, or why would it be?
I don't know. And if you look at even like the Royal Commission Child Sexual Abuse, you know, the majority of those offenders were male priests. There were some nuns, but they were the minority. Was it historically that, you know, there were more men, you know, school teachers? Probably not, because it's a lot of women doing that now. If I had to put a perception, you know, guess, I'd put it perhaps 80-20.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
That's higher than I
But then,
kind of thought.
but
it would
if
be,
you
yeah.
look at victims, like who do they target? It's quite similar.
Right.
That young boys and young girls are equally at risk online.
Right. Susan, thank you. You freaked us out, but also I think made many of us pull our fingers out and just get a little more
Work
in
together,
touch with what's
like
going
work
on.
with each other. And that's what I say to parents when I do. And I'm speaking. I speak every night at a school, but you know, work together. You shouldn't be working against each other and support yourself. And you know, my kids used to say to me, "Oh, Mum, you're the only one that said no." And, you know, I was happy with that. That's fine. I can say no because you're my concern. So what I say to parents now is, you know, if your child tries that on you, you're the only one that says no, you can say, well, no, hang on a minute. Susan McLean talked to me last night and she says no too. So now there's two of us.
Yeah.
So that argument is null and void.
Yeah.
My daughter's going to be getting a Nokia 3210.
Which is probably going to cost you more money because
Totally.
it'll be called an antique or retro or something really
Vintage.
cool.
Sex, Texts and Selfies is Susan McLean's book. She knows her shit. Make sure you grab that copy. Also, your website is cybersafetyexpert.com.au.
No, www.cybersafetysolutions.com.au. And join my Facebook page. We've got just hit over 11,000.
Great.
And it's a real little family, and we share factual information. Susan McLean, Cyber Safety Expert on Facebook, and I post where I'm speaking. So, you know, if your school's not running something, I've never had a school knock back a parent that was interested to come along. So my schedule goes up, and that's right around Australia.
Great.
Excellent.
Thank you. Make sure you share
Thank you
this
so
with everyone you know. I think it's going to be confronting to a lot of parents. And I think a few parents will be like, because if you do give your kid a phone and stuff, you'll be probably feeling a bit vulnerable at the moment. But it's important stuff. So share it with everyone that you know. And thanks for listening in. And thank you, Susan.
Thanks for having me.